Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another Heroes of the Storm cast. I'm Ektar, and I'm here for the very first time with Jackal and Hyde. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
I'm happy to do it. I never actually did ask, how should I refer to you for the rest of the cast?
You can just call me Jackie. It's a little bit less of a mouthful.
Alrighty. I appreciate that. That is a lot easier to say. So we've got here going into our marquee matchup for the evening, Uncomfortably Numb versus Phoenix Rising Emerald. Both teams are still playoff contenders, although at the moment it's definitely heavily favoring Uncomfortably Numb in that regard. And Jackie, do you want to remind the viewers at home how we got to Volskaya Foundry for map number 1, or shall I?
I'll let you take that one.
Alrighty. We had the coin toss won by Uncomfortably Numb, and like every team I've cast this season, they've picked for first pick. Phoenix Rising Emerald banned out Dragonshire and Infernal Shrines. Uncomfortably Numb banned out Braxis and Battlefield of Eternity. And we find ourselves on Volskaya Foundry for game number 1. And how do you feel about this map, Jackie?
Well, if you're going to ban out a bunch of giant vehicles and giant demons and whatnot, you might as well stick with the giant robot, right?
I do like the giant fighting robot, although I do miss the giant fighting plant monster. Rest in peace, original Garden Terror.
Oof.
As a Vikings secondary, I really used to like the old design of that map. It looks like we're just waiting on some of the captains to give us the R before getting on into this match. Looking at the standings right now, we have Uncomfortably Numb and Phoenix Rising Emerald both having played 9 total matches. Uncomfortably Numb are at 16 points, Phoenix Rising Emerald are at 10, so down a couple of places in the standings. Looking to take home a big win tonight. I think it would be a bit of an upset if they're able to take it, but I don't think it would be terribly surprising, given that Piri have shown the capability of taking games off of top teams in the division, if not full series.
Yeah, they definitely seem to be kind of quiet contenders. So it'll be interesting to see what they do here tonight.
So, if you are choosing Volskaya Foundry because you have map pick, what types of things are you looking for your team to do on this map?
So first and foremost, you have to control all those secondary camps. You need your turret, and you need to be able to contest the healing pulse generator. If you can hold those down and keep those on lock, you're going to have a very easy time controlling the giant robot.
Giant robot fights are a big part of this map, as we are getting into the draft now. And I'm always interested what teams want to do when they opt for first pick. In a lot of the matches that I've seen so far this season, and even a lot of the ones that I've played in, it's just to get a very good tank or a very good healer first thing. I like the Zul'Ban.
Yeah.
He did get a little baby nerf in the last patch, but he's still a very strong hero, and he can really change the way that the teams have to play any given map that he's played on.
Absolutely true. It seems to be a time of tank lock bans.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens, because Zul is a little unique in that he can almost be a tank.
And Tassadar, in a lot of ways, has really kind of become one of the preeminent mages. He's sort of that, like, Gold League first ban priority over Kael'thas these days. And frankly, after the last round of buffs, I can't really blame people for that. Not only is he just a strong standalone, he really has a lot of synergy with other powerful team comps, most notably Bloodlust Rhaegar these days.
There's the Joe ban, which is... You see that a lot.
You certainly
Joe's
do.
a little annoying to kind of deal with, because she just kind of goes where she wants to with Unstoppable up so often.
Yeah, for all the League of Legends players out there, Johanna goes where she pleases. And it's actually not a huge loss for Uncomfortably Numb, just because they don't run Johanna. Banning out the Deckard is not terribly surprising, but this does leave ETC, the other big preeminent tank available for Uncomfortably Numb if they decide to pick it up. However, ETC is actually not their most played tank. It's actually Arthas.
Interesting. Well, there's the ETC, and as an ETC tank, I like that pick.
As do I, although I do have to say, Uncomfortably Numb are a little bit of a weird team to try and scout. They've had 3 different players play ETC in their matches. They have a lot of people that just swap roles around constantly, and it's kind of hard to nail down what they're going to want to do. And I don't know if they've done in the past any swapping during the drafting, but if they take advantage of that, they could really find themselves in kind of a tricky position during drafts with something like an early pick ETC.
So there's Rhaegar and Cassia, which is a very strong combination. Cassia's in a really good place with the recent buffs, notably the change to how her armor works, so that you no longer lose it immediately and get just crushingly penalized for missing one auto attack step.
And if I'm not mistaken, they also made it so that it takes slightly longer for it to start dropping off, as well as making it so you retain that avoidance armor while mounted, and you don't have to talent into that.
Yes. All very big changes to Cassia, as well as the big buff to her Q stacking damage, which is very popular nowadays.
Really brought her from kind of a bottom tier hero all the way to like first pick, first ban priority. Like she's got one of the highest win rates on Heroes profile right now.
Definitely a Hanzo ban. So
definitely a target ban coming out there. Hanzo is one of the most played DPS on the side of Uncomfortably Numb, right after Jim Raynor. I think this is actually a better map for Hanzo, to be fair.
Oh yes, he can apply a lot of pressure, whether it's getting a nasty scatter arrow in between some of the pillars on some of the points, or just hitting a dragon strike over the wall.
We haven't talked about Dahaka Malfurion. I really like Malfurion as a healer. He provides a lot of crowd control, and he also allows for a couple of other potentially spicy picks, maybe a hyper engage or hyper carry kind of a hero. Like a Tracer has been picked up a couple times by Uncomfortably Numb. And Mr. Monkey Man just seems to like Dahaka. He plays him even on maps where you don't get a ton of value out of the global ability. He just seems to really favor that hero. On the other side, we have Lazy Hydra picking up the Imperius and Ace picking up Thrall. No relation to my normal co-caster. He's playing on a different stream right now. I believe he's being cast by Bahamut. But interesting picking up both Imperius and Thrall. Neither of them are main tanks necessarily. You kind of can run Imperius in that role, but Thrall's definitely either a bruiser or an assassin. So I wonder if they're still going to pick up another frontliner in their last pickup there.
I think they kind of have to, because Thrall's a good bruiser, but he needs someone to... Both of them kind of need someone to key off of to soak some damage.
Yeah.
But they also don't have a mage properly.
I don't think they're going to get a mage. I think they're going to pick up another tank here, and they pick up Mal'Ganis, who is another tank here.
So that's a lot of crowd control between those 3 specifically.
It's also
with Imperius Q, Mal'Ganis Q, and Thrall Root. That can lock someone down for a very long time.
That's also a scary force to have get bloodlusted and running at you.
Oh, definitely.
We didn't mention the Li Ming or the Greymane quite so much. They're Li Ming is great in this map because she can poke out a point for very long. Greymane is really good, just kind of in general these days. So, love to see them both getting picked up here.
He's got plenty of poke. He can run a solo lane down, and he can deal with camps pretty quickly and safely. So, pretty strong pick, especially on a map that's very camp-centric.
One thing I always like to point out, we definitely have camp synergy advantage going in favor of Phoenix Rising Emerald with the Alpha 2, 3, 4, and 5-year anniversary. Congrats, 5 years, everybody who's been here for that long. And really no portrait synergy to speak of on the side of Uncomfortably Numb. But we have now, spawning on the left-hand side in the blue trunks, they are Uncomfortably Numb, with Mr. Monkey Man playing the Dahaka, Famous playing Greymane, Patches playing the Malfurion, Novus is playing Li Ming, and Kicknaz playing ETC. Why don't you go ahead and call in the other side, Jackie?
So on the other side, we have Rain on Mal'Ganis, Ace on Thrall, Jimmy on Rhaegar, Lothair on Cassia, and the Lazy Hydra on Imperius.
As we are always want to do at the start of the game, we've got to check those level 1 talents. Thrall is going into the Crash Lightning, so not even pretending like he's going to stay in the solo lane at any point in this game.
And Cassia has gone with the Charge Strikes build, which is fairly standard if you're going to be running Bloodlust, I think.
It is what I tend to see the most often these days. We do have Tissue Regeneration coming out from the Dahaka, and we've got Aether Walker. Blizzard finally managed to convince us to pick that talent. And we've got the Progrok from the ETC, which is always a good talent. However, against a Bloodlust comp, maybe you want to think about Block Party, just for the reduction in auto attack damage. Ooh, Kicknaz getting crowd control quite a bit, taking a lot of damage. Isn't going to go down, but is likely going to have to tap already, but that's not too big of a worry.
Oh my gosh.
This early in the game. Rain actually got brought down very low as well, so both of the main tanks are going to have to tap very early in the game. Looks like we have a little bit of an advantage overall in rotation speed over to the side of Uncomfortably Numb. They were able to get down to the mid lane a little bit faster. But it doesn't look like either team are going to lose out anything in XP, but we already have Greymane on camp, and no one on the side of PRE takes camps quite as quickly as Greymane.
That's true. Now, interesting, something that Mr. Monkey Man did was when Imperius was rotating down, because he had pushed up that wave, he actually ran up, met him halfway, and dragged him just to slow him down and drop him on that conveyor belt, just to deny him some more experience.
Yeah, Mr. Monkey Man actually positioning really aggressively. If Lazy Hydra turns around, that could get a big CC combo on him. He is going to be able to get out of there, but he does pop all of his essence, but with 30 seconds until the objectives start spawning, he'll be able to recollect a lot of that essence before it becomes important. Got the level 4s coming in for now both teams. We do have Orb on 4, which is basically standard for Li Ming at this point. We do have Broccoli on 4, which I'm a huge fan of. Although trying to step in a little bit aggressively to get that Broccoli stack, maybe going to spell doom for Patches, as they are first blood in this game. But maybe not the last, as Kicknaz gets swept by Rain and is going to be the second to go down there. And that's a really unfortunate time for them to lose out on those kills, because they potentially could trade over a Biotic Emitter for that, and it looks like that's definitely what PRE are going for.
Biotic Emitter is an unsung hero of this map. A lot of folks very much undervalue it, and it breaks team fights.
I've actually seen Stukov taken exclusively for the purpose of making it impossible for your opponents to grab the Biotic Emitter on this camp. You just put the Lurking Arm under it, and because picking up items has a channel time, you can interrupt it with damage. And Lurking Arm does fast enough tick damage to actually prevent you from picking it up.
So it does look like they're positioning over onto the point already. Kicknaz snuck in there for a quick capture. They're going to sit there, and it looks like they're trying to reach the next talent tier before they commit to this fight.
Yeah, that's why we have Thrall in the top lane right now. Although we did have Dahaka rotate in the bottom lane to try and match that Soak a little bit, but they are going to lose out on level 4 for just a little bit. Let's see if PRE are able to take advantage of that talent tier advantage window. Going in for a bit of an engagement onto ETC, but their opponents do pick up level 7 in short order, so no real time to take advantage of that small gap in XP. Both teams just kind of positioned around trying to find something, not really wanting to overcommit right now. Although we have a big commitment coming up from Lazy Hydra with that spear. Does hit onto several members, a lot of damage coming out onto the red team. Mr. Monkey Man gets brought down low, but is able to pop Essence to keep himself nice and topped off. The Biotic Emitter is coming out doing a ton of healing, keeps Lazy Hydra alive, and that is a quadra kill going over in favor of Phoenix Rising Emerald, showing that they are not a team to be messed with.
That Biotic Emitter. The damage
we are going to sing its
was
praises this match. It will not go unsung for long.
Oh, definitely.
invading on that camp. Really well done by Piri. But as great as that team fight was, and it really was great, their opponents do have time to try and make a recontest here. They will be down 2 turrets, but that is not an insurmountable advantage if they're able to find a nice CC combo. We're going to have to see Jimmy be really on top of those cleanses, but you cannot cleanse yourself. And Rhaegar is going to get blown up. That is the unfortunate truth, is that you can't cleanse yourself. The turrets do come down, and that is going to force Mr. Monkey Man back. I don't know if he still has tap available. Li Ming is not continuing with Orb build, actually going into Q on 7s, not going Calamity or Orbs, going into Magic Missile build. Or Arcane Missile build. We do have Dahaka already back in now. A lot of damage coming out. Rhaegar's still not back there, and that is going to be Mal'Ganis going down. Lothair is pretty low, and I'd like to see Piri back out of this. They took a great team fight, but they can't afford to give over any more kills here. Although Lazy Hydra may not have much of a choice. Although they're not committing super hard, Lazy Hydra is going to get out of there. They actually have 4 members back up now, but that is going to be the first Triglav going over in favor of Uncomfortably Numb.
Though it is interesting because it looks like Phoenix is going to get that level 10 very, very soon.
Yeah.
So they might want to play fairly defensively with this robot, because if they drop in the wrong spot, they're all getting chunked there by the robot.
We've got the Sundra, it is a Bloodlust, Fall Lightning, Carrion Swarm, and to be determined by Imperius. They're actually going in really deep for this, and both of the offlaners are down there.
Way back, but there's no follow-up.
They have to be worried when this thing pops, though, for a Bloodlust engage. There's not a great disengage on the side of Uncomfortably Numb, so they do back away immediately after getting that well.
I think that's a very smart choice, because they've got Greymane and Li Ming piloting it right now, which means that if it pops in the middle of, say, Mal'Ganis, they're just going to get imploded when that Bloodlust hits.
Triglav is going to be going down. They did get far enough away to be safe while doing it, but still a full level advantage in favor of Phoenix Rising Emerald, despite losing that first Triglav protector. We've got the level 10s coming on now. We do have Tranquility, Cursed Bullet, Isolation, Wave of Force, and Mosh Pit, the real big playmaker on the side of Uncomfortably Numb. On the other side, we did get Angelic Armaments, which has to be the expected ult coming up from Imperius. Ooh, Dahaka digs on up. He gets the isolation onto Ace, but no follow-up is able to come out from that. Lazy Hydra in a bit of a rough spot. Cleanse does come out. Bloodlust as the counter engage. Kicknaz is very low. Batic Emitter gets dropped to keep PRE in the fight just a little bit longer, but they're not able to lock anyone down long enough for that Bloodlust damage.
Cassia getting rooted.
And Cassia gets counter blown up by Greymane. Really nice patience coming out from the side of Uncomfortably Numb. Looking to catch Lazy Hydra here. He actually gets dismounted but not killed in that engagement.
Yeah, it looked like Li Ming was looking for that wave of force to push him back, and he was just outside of the center.
Members of Uncomfortably Numb all in the bot lane at this point, looking to try and get some damage done in this lane. They do use the Broccoli just to soak some tower shots. As of the most recent change, or is that only a change on PTR? Frick.
It's only on PTR.
Only on PTR. Alright, so they... Oh, big two-man spear coming out. Mal'Ganis looking for a follow-up sleep. Does get rooted by the Broccoli.
Spear comes out.
Really nice spears coming out from Lazy Hydra in this match, but both teams esporting in the bot lane. That has to give slight advantage to Puri, who are ahead in XP and would hit that 13 talent tier earlier.
Greymane moving over to the camp and Dahaka moving center to try and soak up any experience that they can.
Yeah, Dahaka
he sees the team coming and just moves on.
Important to note, Dahaka actually gets a 20% speed boost in bushes, so you don't want to run through bushes if Dahaka's chasing you, because you're just going to get harder on yourself. That's kind of what we saw in that first objective with Imperius. Both teams just safely getting to their level 13s. You seem to know a little bit about Cassie. Is that the standard 13 for her?
A new terminal will be ready
Well,
shortly.
Gloves of Alacrity, definitely if you're going to be going an auto attack build. The one basic attack range, just baseline, is strong on just about any hero. And then once you get it to your full avoidance fully charged, having 2 attack range is pretty... it really allows you to poke very, very safely.
Ooh, Phoenix Rising going for a little bit of a flank engage. Does get spotted out in that left side bush. ETC is going to be able to get the knockback, keeping Rain from sleeping him, and it's still a 5 versus 4 in the top lane. Dahaka's in the bottom lane and hasn't started to dig up yet. If this gets identified and that CC combo comes out, I'd like to see that Bloodlust engage. Huge knockback for ETC though.
They seem to just struggle getting that like full lockdown. They get a good spear, they get a good knock up, and then ETC just knocks it all away and resets the board.
Yeah, every time there's a Bloodlust, just boom, knockback from ETC. Face Melt just keeps everyone from engaging like they want to, and Bloodlust is the comp for PRE. If they're not getting the Bloodlusts off, then they're going to be in a rough spot.
Yep.
There's a huge mosh pit, but it does get interrupted by Sundering. Only gets a little bit of damage. Rain gets healed up pretty decently. Cassia's low. Big roots actually coming out, preventing Rain from engaging further. And Rain is going to be the first one falling to Famous's Greymane, although they're in a really weird spot on these treadmills, trying to secure the kill out onto Famous, but he gets away with some really fancy footwork there. Finding a second kill out onto Cassia, and it is full-on retreat for Phoenix Rising. Alright, so if you're a Phoenix Rising Emerald, what are the changes you need to make to get a successful team fight going forward here?
Well, from a like diehard Cassia addict, you got to get your Cassia to sit back a little bit in these team fights. Unfortunately, Lothair keeps going in very, very deep, and then the rest of the other team just collapses on him. And Cassia doesn't really do too well once you get stunned once, because your armor's going to fall off very quickly.
Alright, we got the 16s now picked up for the side of Uncomfortably Numb. Team's even on kills, but Fury down about 3/4 of a level. Lazy Hydra getting a nice charge and spear out onto ETC, but the Bloodlust engage comes out. He does not have the knockback necessarily, but the huge amount of healing coming out from Patches is going to get him safely out of there. We're using the Bloodlust now to just burn the Triglav, although Jimmy gets put into a really rough spot, and he is going to get blown up. Really nice glove? I don't remember what that ability is called from the Triglav.
I always just called it the Bad Touch Robo Hand, but...
Rocket Fist, there we go. Thank you very much.
There we go.
Alright, so the bot well is already down, so they're just trying to see what damage they can get done into the fort itself to really secure themselves a nice spot going into this third objective. Because even when this pops, they're even on heroes, Dahaka could maybe dig down, and they're already up in kills. Dahaka did dig down to the bot lane, took a while to get there. Lothair's in a bit of a rough spot, but just barely able to juke that engage and gets on out of there. Really well done by them.
I think Mr. Monkey Man missed that pull on Cassia by a pixel. But that's kind of what I was talking about with Cassia, where she was very far forward, and as soon as that fort went down, they just pressed forward, and her team, or Lothair's team, wasn't quite there to allow some disengage.
So I've heard a lot of people say that even if you're running Thrall on the 4-man, Echo of the Elements is the way to go, just because it's more burst damage. And checking on the Cracked Lightning stacks, he's only at 16 out of 30, so it's a really rough spot for Thrall. Not going to have that done anytime soon, just really not quite landing the stacks that I think that they were hoping for with that talent.
Yeah. I'm not 100% sure what the end goal plan was with it, other than maybe just sparking into a Li Ming and getting a lucky pick, but...
Yeah, I don't really know. It's really more of a brawl talent most of the time these days, because that way it doesn't bounce off of the minions, but during team fights, for the most part, it shouldn't be clanking off of minions, and getting that second stack is a lot more potential damage. Big slow coming out from Jimmy, but not going to find anything from it. At this point, Uncomfortably Numb are pushing in kind of in this mid area, and they're not really finding anything from it, and they rotate up to the Biotic Emitter. Imperius is a little bit behind, but they could maybe try to make a fight out of this. I don't think it's a good position for Puri, though. I think that they should just back out. And they are able to do so successfully. At least initially.
Is going in, though.
Big Bloodlust coming out. They're going to find damage,
Mosh.
and that is the Bloodlust
Just
bluff
go
that they were
down.
looking for this whole time. They find the second kill out onto Patches. Mr. Monkey Man is in bitter rust spot as well. Big spear comes out and hit onto Famous, who is able to get on out of there. That Malfurion corpse took forever to land back down. But really nice blow-up engage coming out for Puri. They do trade a fort away for it, but it gets them position onto this bottom objective when it spawns. And it just gives them some breathing room out on the map. Also, importantly, it resets all of the items. Neither team has any right now.
That is actually a big deal, because beforehand, Uncomfortably Numb had all the control. They've got one turret left, so it wasn't a complete reset, it looks like, but beforehand they had a turret, they dropped a turret in there, they dropped an emitter. That's a lot to expend when you lose the fight.
Yeah,
Activate.
and
Take
a
control.
little bit of a... I want to know what Lazy Hydra's looking for right now. I guess he's looking for a spear out onto Mr. Monkey Man. That was, I think, a little optimistic. Lothair is going to continue trying to take this camp, which will put them even in the item department. However, their opponents, I think, pretty wisely are backing off. They're not trying to take this objective. They just want to soak 20, because that's a bigger advantage than any item's ever going to give you.
And they're also getting their turret again, which has respawned since. So now they do have one turret up.
And Puri have identified the strategy coming out from Uncomfortably Numb, and they are going to soak 20 and try not to take an engagement too much. Although Famous is alone
Raymain
right now.
Mal'Ganis
Rain
sitting
needed
back.
to follow up on that. That could have been a lot more damage with a Night Rush coming in there, or in a couple of Fell Claws, but as it is, playing very safe, not wanting to give over any kills right now.
I think they were definitely afraid of having an awkward 5v4 there.
I think that Uncomfortably Numb were visible in bot lane, though. I think that they had a little bit of time, but
They were, but they do sometimes struggle to get the burst down without that Bloodlust. So maybe they just didn't want to commit the Bloodlust on what would have been a likely gamble, but a gamble nonetheless.
that's fair. We did have the level 20s picked up, now being picked up for both teams. We've got the Storm Shield. I had to check to see if it was just base Storm Shield or if EDC got a special one. Talrash's elements, Contagion, the Hunter's Blunderbuss, and Serenity. On the other side, we do have the Sunder upgrade, Titan's Revenge, which continuing that auto attack build, the Angelic Armaments and all the other ult upgrades. Cassia auto attack and ult upgrades for the side of Puri. So we're going to hide talents because you've seen them all for the rest of the game. And now it's just about how this teamfight goes. It's very real possibility that whoever wins this impending teamfight wins the entire game. And Dahaka's not here right now. That's so big. If they identify this, they could take a 5v4, and that Warlord's challenge, or whatever the heck the Bloodlust upgrade is called, is incredibly powerful.
That it is. Looks like they're trying to get this Greymane. Mosh comes out, Unstoppable comes out, Sunder, and here comes the Bloodlust. They are diving down.
It maybe came out just a little bit too late, as that is going to be Kicknaz barely surviving. Rain, huge tongue comes out and getting onto Mal'Ganis. Jimmy's able to make it out of there. Kill goes out onto ETC as well. Actually only 1-for-1, and Bloodlust just finished there. That talent lasts for so long after 20. Lothair gets engaged upon, but is able to get the counter kill out onto Greymane. Mr. Monkey Man's counter low gets speared by Lazy Hydra, and now it's a 3 versus 2.
Lothair,
Oh
very,
my gosh,
very low.
these
Oh
charges
my
from
gosh.
Imperius, though. Lazy Hydra MVP.
Yeah, I really like Lazy Hydra's charges.
I think with as many heroes as they lost in that teamfight, they probably can't just end. Also, lol, the turret on point right now. But they should be able to get some very significant counter damage. They might even take a structure advantage after that objective now. So going into the bot lane, this is generally where I see the third Triglav go, but it's definitely the most variable of the first three. But with, still 10 seconds until half the team is up, they could put some very serious pressure into this bottom keep, maybe even take it down before that they can rotate enough heroes in here to do anything. That was a weird interaction.
That was...
Not quite
was certainly
Cassia
a
Fend
jump.
levels of weird, but it was up there.
Yeah, that was...
It looks like they aren't going to be able to get that keep, just barely getting pushed away, as Malfurion is just coming up now. And that's really unfortunate if you're a PRE fan. They didn't get the keep, and they didn't get any other buildings as counter pressure as well. Really well defended by Uncomfortably Numb there.
The protector has been defeated.
Yeah.
Triglav goes down.
And now we've reached the awkward part of Volskaya, where it's
All
dangerous
the
to get
camps
out
are
on the
up.
map. Yeah, they're going to take all the camps, but both teams should be too scared and not wanting to take an even fight. Although,
It does
we do
look
have
like
Uncomfortably
Uncomfortably
Numb.
Numb.
Yeah, going for that biotic emitter camp. It gets sniffed out
And here comes
immediately.
PRE.
All the ults are available. And they're getting popped. There goes the
Bloodlust is
Bloodlust.
popping now.
The biotic emitter does get picked up. They did trade a pair of ults for it. Although their opponents used just as many ults, so really well done by PRE, just kind of walking in and saying, this is mine now. Looking at this bottom camp. Top left camp did just get taken by Uncomfortably Numb, so PRE knows that they've got a few seconds until their opponents get on in here. And this is a dangerous choke point to try and fight into. So I think it's really wise for Uncomfortably Numb not to try and fight through there. Just try and get some poke damage with the leaming that they have. Maybe try to force down this mid-fort so that they can get that constant catapult pressure and whatnot, but
It does
it's not
look like you're going to get it pretty safely.
not at all the biggest deal in the world.
No.
Although, there is an engage coming out here from Famous. The nice spear comes out hitting onto the ETC. He gets the mosh pit, but it's immediately sundered. And Kicknaz is in a bit of a rough spot. I don't think he has any disengage left. But
Hydra
Contagion.
completely alone.
Contagion hit out onto 3 members there, so really nicely disengaged by Dahaka. And finding that kill there is really nice. It gives a lot of breathing room to Uncomfortably Numb to step out onto the map and try to get some damage done now.
So interesting though, the Sunder locked them out of saving their Imperius there.
Yeah, I definitely needed to hit that R button again to knock that wall down, Mr. Gorbachev. Bit of an engaged attempt coming out onto Rain, but a very quick cleanse coming out from Jimmy means that Rain was able to walk away without hitting any of that crowd control. And once again, Uncomfortably Numb just trying to use their leaming to poke down this building, and I think pretty wisely, PRE are actually using their bodies to prevent leaming from getting that damage in, because keeping this keep alive is decently important. It's not game-winning for Uncomfortably Numb if they do get that building, but it's irksome for PRE if they lose it.
It definitely splits attention away from the objectives. And when the enemy team has a Dahaka, they enjoy having irksome distractions, because Dahaka can go make those irksome distractions a problem and then just leave.
Yeah, he's not as great at it as he could be. He did not go into the Apex Predator, but I mean, we saw a huge amount of value coming out from the Contagion in that previous fight, so I can't knock his level 20 choice for sure. I like Lazy Hydra coming in here for a bit of a flank engage. Have the tanks kind of doing a little bit of a pincer engage, trying to find some good crowd control and make this team fight go really well in their favor. Bloodlust comes
Rhaegar
out really
Bloodlust.
early.
I
They
think that
do
was
find
off
the spear
save.
onto Famous. Does some good damage, but
This Bloodlust is going to fall off pretty quick here.
yeah, it's going to get him a little bit of position on a point. It does last 16 seconds, which is long enough. They do actually still have it at the start of this engagement, but the counter mosh pit is huge and not interrupted at all this time. But Lothair is actually able to chase down the Malfurion, so no healer alive on the side of Uncomfortably Numb. They're actually getting pushed out really hard now. Mr. Monkey Man is low,
They're
is surviving at
chunking.
double digits of hit points, but they cannot re-engage onto this point, and that is going to be the 4th objective going over in favor of Phoenix Rising Emerald.
So that was rather surprising because that definitely seemed like a panic bloodlust because Rhaegar looked like he was in the triple digits there, but
It looked like I believe you're going to land this crowd control. Kind of a bloodlust. Big damage coming out of Famous, actually. Jimmy's pretty low as well. He does get hit with the tongue drag. Is able to walk on out of there, just
sneak
barely.
away.
Kicknaz is very low, and so is Mr. Monkey Man, who does hit a big contagion.
Jimmy's
Novus is looking to pop off. If he can find that kill onto Jimmy, they can maybe make some magic happen here, but they're not able to
Jimmy
do it. They're
hops in
down
robot.
2. And with it, as much damage as they got into this bot keep, I think that,
Has taken control of
yeah, you might be a little bit worried if you're an Uncomfortably Numb fan right now.
Definitely.
If Li Ming can
He looks-
start popping off on Lothair and then Hydra, maybe, but it's going to be a really difficult defense coming out. Curse Bullet doing actually quite a bit of damage onto Lothair, and they are going to get dropped. Famous gets brought down very low as well, but it's a Triglav Protector 26 minutes into the game. That's just a little bit too much for them to try to deal with, and that is game 1 going over to the underdog team, Phoenix Rising Emerald. Alright, let's take a look at some of the post-game numbers. A lot of damage coming out from Li Ming, but Cassia doing pretty decently herself.
Definitely.
Healing numbers actually very close between the two, which is a bit surprising. Rhaegar is not known for his healing throughput. So seeing him keep up with Malfurion is a bit surprising to me.
Does Bloodlust get tracked as
Yes.
self-heals?
Yeah, self-heals. Maybe the healing that he puts onto himself counts as self-heals, and the heals that other people get from it count as actual healing, would be my guess. Lazy Hydra, that feeling when your Thrall picks Sundering upgrade Monka S. Alright, just got confirmation from Famous that they are going to take first hero pick going into map number 2, I believe. So, retrospective of match number 1. What do you think that Uncomfortably Numb are going to have to do in game 2 and game 3 to make this their series?
So, I feel like there was almost a little bit of a shift midway through the game that started kind of tilting the engages more towards PRE's favor. And I think that shift was, in the early game, we saw PRE engaging onto Uncomfortably Numb and being denied by the ETC. But then, midway through the game, we started seeing ETC engage onto PRE and then just get denied by the Imperious charge, followed up by the Mal'Ganis, and that's when they started really winning these team fights. So maybe they need to take either a more defensive approach and bait PRE into more fights, or they need to take the exact opposite route and go with something maybe a little bit more dive heavy. If we're thinking that they're going to see the Cassia again, roots are your best friend.
Yeah, those that shift tends to happen when ETC players get mosh pit. So having that butt wiggle of, oh man, I want to land this sweet mosh pit right now, it makes it a little bit linear sort of for engagements to happen with the ETC. And once you use slide as an engage, if that mosh gets interrupted, you're no longer like a really powerful tank. actually. Like, ETC without his slide available and with Mosh Pit now on cooldown is a little just okay. Alrighty. We have our map number 2. It's certainly not one that I would have guessed going into it. It's going to be Alterac Pass, as chosen by Phoenix Rising Emerald. Are you still there?
Yes.
Excellent. Love to hear it. Alright, we're just getting both of the teams into the lobby. So, given what we saw on Volskaya, why do you think that they would choose Alterac Pass as game number 2?
I can honestly say I'm not 100% sure. I'm not super familiar with them, but maybe they just really like the map.
Yeah, I didn't actually check to see what maps that they've played on a lot this season, so I don't have any secret insights there. I don't think that the maps are very similar. Like with Volskaya, you have a lot of focus on the camps and almost secondary emphasis on the actual objective, whereas on this map you kind of have that, but there's only really the one camp, and the objective is the only thing that matters when it's up for the most part. Often it's a boss which actually ends the game, but the objective will set you up to take that boss ultimately. But perhaps
Definitely.
that Piri just were able to say to themselves, you know what? Late game, we kind of won most of the team fights we took in an even position or better, so let's just go to a map that forces us to continuously team fight over objectives. And, you know, Infernal Shrines is banned out, so I guess Alterac Pass is maybe the next best thing.
I can definitely see the logic in that.
I thought I gave him Captain. Set Captain. I don't know, I'm actually not the world's biggest fan of Alterac Pass, because it's big and there's not a lot of stuff on it. I like maps where you can just be doing stuff all the time, usually camps.
So I kind of like Alterac Pass just because it allows you to play a lot more of the macro game, and maybe that's just because I like really strong macro plays. It allows like Abathur can kind of do a lot of work. If Mr. Monkey Man's going to play Dahaka, this might be a better map for Dahaka. There's certainly a lot of bushes right near the objectives that you can just pop into, and it's kind of like playing whack-a-mole. You hear the sound of him burrowing, but you don't know quite which one he's going to pop into.
Yeah, definitely you hear that sound, and if you're a squishy DPS or a healer, you're like, I'm just going to back up. I don't know where he is, and until you see him on the minimap again, you're not safe. Do you think that Jimmy's kid is on the mic?
Kid's
Interesting. You know, I've heard of wife aggro and dog aggro, never child aggro, but you know what? Everyone was a child at some point. I'm just gonna bring y'all into the screen for a sec, so we can see the chat going on in there. It's pretty great. My 3-year-old wants attention. That is the age where children want attention. Can confirm. Alright, bring us back to the between game screen. And thank you everyone for being in chat. Synchrony, Jordomax, Synchrony again, and Lazy Hydra. I appreciate you guys for being active in the chat. Haven't really been responding to you too much, but I see you in there. Darned Jimmy being a responsible parent. I know, right? Are you a parent, Jacqueline, or are you just a parent to a four-legged critter like myself?
I am only parent to a four-legged critter who is adopted twice, so she's a bit bitter.
If you don't mind my asking, how does a pet become adopted twice?
Well, I went to the military when the family got a new leopard gecko for my younger brother. He went to college, left it with the parents, and I picked it up from the parents. So adopted twice, right?
At least it stayed more or less in the family the whole time.
Yeah.
Alrighty, getting into the Alterac past draft. Thank you for answering my
Rhaegar
question.
ban.
The very fast Rhaegar ban. Not wanting to deal with the Bloodlust Engage, and frankly, I cannot blame them. Rhaegar is so good right now.
Although, if they hadn't had banned Rhaegar, I would have assumed to see it as a first pick.
Yeah, it worked out extremely well eventually.
Eventually, yes.
But you know what? That's how Heroes of the Storm kind of is in 2019, 2020 era. If something works eventually, if it's late enough, then it only needs to work once.
Absolutely true.
And the Tassadar ban coming out once again. I love Tassadar, and I would love to see him get played, but I can understand not wanting to play against the chonky damage he can put out. And not wanting their opponents to get ETC, which, I don't know, a little bit of a thunker. They don't play all that much ETC compared to their other tanks.
Well, at the very least, it means they're looking at a drastically different team composition because they're not going to have that ETC to play around.
My captain hated me playing ETC that bad. Target ban for his own team. See, this is why I like to be a referee and not just an observer. As an observer, you miss out on this kind of banter.
You hate to see it.
You don't, though. I love to see it.
Well, I was reading the chat.
It is time.
Picking up the Zool, I think this is a really smart pickup. Zool can do so much work if left alone for just a little bit. And on Alterac, the objective takes so long, you can afford to leave someone in a lane for a little bit.
Yeah. Altrac's one of those delay maps where you just delay the objective while you try and let someone do their job in one of the side lanes, hopefully.
Yeah. Novus is actually the one picking up that Zool. But as I mentioned before, there's a lot of flexibility on this roster, so that doesn't say a whole heck of a lot, other than that they're probably not going to pick up a Kerrigan. Not that you would on this map anyway.
So Rain going with the Johanna, and Lothair picking up the Cassie again. Patches picking up the Stukov, and Famous with the Arthas.
Yes, quite famous for the Arthas, in fact. Has played him 7 times out of their, I think, 21 games? So yeah, playing Arthas in a third of their matches, and unlike ETC, where they've had 3 different people play ETC, Famous is their Arthas player. And an Arthas route into a Stukov silence is a stupid amount of crowd control. And if they can just set those combos up with any regularity, it's going to be really scary for Phoenix Rising Emerald.
That's absolutely. I did say before, roots are your best friend against Acacia, and right now they've picked Zool, who is a guaranteed root, and Arthas, who is not a super guaranteed route, but if you go the quest, it makes it pretty easy to get a route.
And also Stukov, who can provide his own routes at 13. The Ana ban coming out, that is a meta ban and not a target ban at all. Phoenix Rising Emerald have played Ana exactly 1 time. So I don't think Ana is a very comfortable pickup for PRE, but she's just like in a vacuum, she's a great healer. But just not one that PRE plays very often. Ooh,
Jimmy
white
picks the
man.
white mane.
That is a new pickup for them this season. They have not played white mane at all.
So white mane's always fun because white mane players have the advantage of actually understanding how white mane works.
I'm not convinced. I'm pretty sure most of them are just button mashers. They're like, you know what? There's no good fighting games out right now. I'm just gonna go play white mane. Occult
Jaina
Wiz, I've
and
noticed
Nazebo.
you. That's interesting. That is a lot of blow up, but also decent lockdown. Nazebo has above average follow up CC for a mage. The downside, you have to have a Nazebo on your team. Don't get me wrong, I love Nazebo and he's one of my most played heroes. He is a little bit more difficult than average to get value out of because of the way he deals damage.
But I think they're definitely doubling down on the idea of we're going to just deny the point as long as possible, because now at this point you can have Zul or you can have Nazebo running down a lane while you delay the objective. And even if you lose the objective, if Zul and Nazebo are left to their own devices, they can win that macro game just by themselves.
You know, the more I think about it, the more I actually really like the white mane pickup. She is one of the few heroes that Jimmy had available with a cleanse, which is very likely going to be super necessary because of the point-and-click nature of the CC coming out for Uncomfortably Numb. And she has humongous anti-burst potential in her healing. So I think that if played well, Jimmy could really ruin Uncomfortably Numb's day with that pick.
I agree.
Alrighty, once again we have spawning on the left-hand side in the blue trunks, Uncomfortably Numb with Monkey Man playing the Nazebo. Novus is playing Zul, Kiknaz playing Jaina, Patches on the Stukov, and Famous is playing his famous Arthas.
And in the red corner, we have Phoenix Rising Emerald with Lothair on... Oh, a pause coming in.
We got time.
Gives
Go
me
ahead.
time. Lothair on the Falstad this time. Let's see. We've got Jimmy on the White Mane, Lazy Hydra on the Imperious, Ace on Cassia this time, and Rain on Johanna.
Yeah. Was going to wait for the first team fight. Well played, Kiknaz. Alrighty, so if there ends up being a very significant issue and Famous isn't able to come back or stop being robotic or whatever issues he ends up having, we could actually just end up remaking. They'd have to draft the same comps on both sides, but I believe that there is a sub for Uncomfortably Numb that they might be able to bring in and try to slide into this team comp. It wouldn't be ideal, but it's better than disconnecting later in the game and having to deal with, you know, a bot Arthas.
Definitely. So I think it's a little interesting to see Cassia going charged strikes again into Arthas and Zul. Because usually you see charged strikes when you're making that play for the giant killer later on, because the bouncing giant killer can just decimate 2 tanks, 2 bruisers. But between Arthas and Zul, there's not as big of an HP pool as, say, like a Diablo and Stitches, for sure.
Yeah, not a huge Cassia player, so I don't know what that necessarily signifies going on later into the game. Yeah.
So usually that means that they've got a little bit less poke potential, but a little bit more team fight presence. It's definitely not quite as strong, minus the Bloodlust, because when you have Bloodlust added to that combo, 20% attack speed, plus the Bloodlust, plus bouncing with a 20% bonus damage, Cassia just rips people apart.
Yeah, she definitely does a ton of damage right now. A little bit weak to CC, and they do have that in spades if you're on Uncomfortably Numb, so...
Yeah. Famous is saying ready, question mark. Casters need to pause.
To be fair, it's before the game actually started. I probably didn't need to count down, but, you know, propriety and all that. So we got a bit of a weird lane arrangement coming out from Phoenix Rising, wanting to get some initial damage, maybe snipe down the top well.
Interesting.
And they're definitely going to stay hidden out of vision. Yeah, they're going to go try to snipe the top well.
Falstad looks like he's going to try and snipe the bottom well.
I've never seen a team do this on both sides of the map at the same time. I kind of love that. Rain stepping up with the shield to make sure that he doesn't take quite as much hit point damage as he could have. Jimmy already down to half mana, though. Bit of a weird spot for them to be in. Lazy Hydra probably going to die for their hubris, but they did get the bottom well also. Although with that charge, Lazy Hydra might even get out of here. Jimmy is pumping out the heals, doing what he can, and Lazy Hydra gets on out of there. And that's going to be a gigantic advantage going into the later parts of this game.
Both wells are gone.
Well, well, well.
Oh, it looks like Arthas has disconnected. Uh-oh. They're asking for a pause, maybe, or not.
Alright, he's back now. Both teams are beholden to the pause number limit, as well as a 10-minute total pause time. I forget if that is per game or per series. If it becomes relevant, we will try to find that out later, as we do have PRE now taking their side Bruiser camp. Their opponents are clearing out mid lane still, and they're not gone for their camp yet. They're clearing real fast, though.
That they are.
So
Falstad just kind of chilling in the bottom lane, getting those stacks, getting Wingman ready to go.
Yeah, and he saw patches rotate in there, so he was ready to back up as soon as the rest of Uncomfortably Numb showed up. Novus is trying to take this camp now. I don't know that Zool actually has a good time taking a camp by himself this early, so we do have patches rotating in to make sure that he can get topped off as well.
Yeah, usually you don't see Zool taking a solo camp until he gets the bonus damage on his W.
Yeah. We do have, we never actually talked much about the level 1 talents. We do have Thing of the Deep for our Nuzibo, which is basically standard. We got the Reinforce coming out from Arthas, and I think more or less standard talents after that. Johanna went into D-Shield cooldown and shielding amount, and we already mentioned the Bird Box build coming out from Falstad as well.
Our scouts from the Beholders keeping some of our soldiers prisoner. Get ready to free them.
First objective is spawning in the mid-top area, and camp is going to get cleaned up. It's going to be up a lot faster for the side of Phoenix Rising. Bit of another engage attempt coming out onto Lothair. He's able to get on out of there very nicely. Both teams exhibiting a very different strategy on this map. You have a very kind of static 1-3-1 for PRE, and Uncomfortably Numb trying to rotate to put pressure, and I don't know how well it's working at this point.
So, I mean, as far as the experience goes, they're making it work.
I mean, they're keeping even. They're not really getting an advantage from it.
But all it takes is one good rotation, and they can swing that. And this might be it. Well, Stukov manages to walk away. Now Famous is kind of on his lonesome, but they back off.
Yep, and they're doing a pretty decent job of getting Nuzibo stacked, which is, now I realize, probably why they're doing that lane arrangement of rotating to get Naz stacked as quickly as possible, make sure he gets that 175 by level 20. And even beyond that, it just gives him extra health and mana to work with, which is, you know, a pretty big deal when you're in Nuzibo.
Well, I mean, just look at it. It's 4 minutes into the game, not even, and he's at 70 stacks. So.
Yeah, that's 2 of the Spider Queen numbers right there. That's pretty darn good. So he should definitely be stacked in time for level 20. Although PRE are able to get this camp, and with that, and both teams not having level 7, I'd like to see them try to push in and get some progress into this objective. Lothair is going to get pushed on the bottom a little bit, but we do have them now pushing in towards their objective. Famous is trying to keep them away from it, so is Patches, but there are only 2 here. James is coming in now, but there's still 2 behind that are making a slow rotate. We get first initial channel going over in favor of Phoenix Rising.
This is where the game becomes interesting, because, oh, well, they're going to give it up, and they're going to go mid.
And they're going to kill Novus for it.
Yep.
Ooh, that Blizzard doing quite a bit of damage. And they're going to find a
And they're
counter
gonna
kill out
lose
onto
Jimmy.
Whitemane. Ace is going to make it out of there, but without a healer, I think this means Fury need to back out for a little bit. Definitely hit the retap and try to just defend. They're not going to be able to push in aggressively until they get their Whitemane back.
That was interesting.
I'm really looking forward to the first game I cast that has a Mei on one side and a Jaina on the other side, so I can talk about both Blizzards.
Oh, no.
Why, company named Blizzard, did you name two basic abilities Blizzard? I don't get you. Anywho, we got
PRE
PRE getting a
going
nice
back
engage
in.
onto Arthas, who does pop the Icebound Fortitude, so they're able to walk away from that. But
So Hydra did a good job just tanking the minions while Falstad just walked in and channeled. So they're looking to actually secure this objective at this point, it looks like.
yeah, and I don't really think that they can try to step in on this. And that is going to be first objective going over in favor of Phoenix Rising. Really,
Raiders will be here soon.
you know, I always believed that this had the possibility to be a good matchup, but their playoff statistics aren't looking great, so if someone looked at this matchup and said, well, this is going to be an easy 2-0 in favor of Uncomfortably Numb, I wouldn't blame them for thinking that, but I'm glad that PRE are showing me right instead of the haters.
So Uncomfortably Numb does have 10, but that's going to change very quickly once this objective gets into play.
Lazy Hydra chunking Jaina from full health to about 30% real fast. Big Poison Nova coming out, hitting out onto Ace. But the power of Whitemaning is keeping him alive. Whitemane gets pushed on out of there, but the Divine Reckoning was able to keep him for a very long time. And as good as that fight was, and it was very good, that was a 5-man defense in mids. There's good damage being done bot, there's good damage being done top. And all in all, a pretty successful first objective going over in favor of Phoenix Rising.
Hydra just barely missing another charge onto Jaina, which that would have probably done some serious damage again in that aura.
Speaking of charges, we've got the level 10s now for both teams. We do have the Wrath of Anguirus not going for the Celestial Armaments this time. And that's a
Interesting.
really interesting pickup, I think, because of how just tanky the front line is for Uncomfortably Numb. I don't know what they're trying to hit with the Wrath of Anguirus. I mean, obviously the back line, but how do you get there? I guess we're going to find out. Or we won't, and we'll find ourselves in a game 3. Zevo's already up at over 150 stacks at level 12. So really well done by them. Oh my gosh, you just barely hit that abduct in the top lane. And I guess you don't need it in the team fight if you just secure random picks with it. So really well done. And looks like they're going to go ahead and try to take boss. Falstad's in the bot lane, but he should have his fly available if a defense comes in for Uncomfortably Numb.
It looks like Stukov's running up to check on that.
Arthas has an inkling, but Nazeebo's in the bot lane and Zul's taking camps. This is definitely just going to be boss in favor of Uncomfortably Numb. Famous. Oh, this is a bit of a rough engage. A lot of damage coming out. The Divine Reckoning being Famous very low. He survives sub 300 hit
Just
points,
manages.
but he forced them off the boss. They let the boss reset and all of that.
I think it's pretty interesting here that this is the second time that PRE has been on some kind of objective, and they've turned around and said, we want to go get this pick right now. Forget the objective, drop it, let's go pick this person.
Don't get me wrong, I think putting the damage into Arthas was a fine decision. Letting the boss leash and heal to full, I don't think was.
Yes.
That's a really not great play going into the future. They could definitely have a boss barreling through top lane right now, which... Oh,
Because at this point, they've
Can't do all in
basically
the
just
past,
lost
though.
all that experience and just spent their time in a bush.
yeah. Realistically, that was a minute-long bush party that didn't quite pan out the way they wanted. But, I mean, as much as we're talking about how bad that play is, it's still a very even game right now.
It is.
And it's actually a really good fight coming out
Hydra
from
getting
Uncomfortably
another-
Numb. Kicknaz gets brought down very low. Lazy Hydra has just been bullying Jaina all game.
Stukov with push. And Zul gets another huge poison.
Yeah, but that's going to
But
be first
dies
kill
for
going
his
out
hubris.
onto Zul. Whitemane is just doing Whitemane things and barely keeping people alive, but You know, if you got 100 hit points at the end of a team fight, that's 99 more than you needed. Oh, the Ring of the Leech and the Protected, by the way, on the Fend doing work there, keeping Ace alive, getting him healed, and securing a kill. So 3 kills to 2 in favor of Phoenix Rising, but they're so low and without a healer that they can't try to make a play right now.
So, I know we've talked about Cassia talents all the time, but she is such a weird, versatile hero because she's basically got like 4 or 5 different builds that you can really go.
Which is great.
And
not enough heroes have
great.
that.
Yeah, so we've got Charged Strikes at level 1, but then Ring of the Leech is pretty much it's a really good method of giving yourself some health no matter what build you go. And then Surge of Light and War Matron combo really, really well together. Surge of Light, of course, being the absorb damage with avoidance, and then you explode in an AoE, and War Matron giving you protected. So this is just going to allow her to, if she gets rooted, which is fairly likely against this team, and the enemy team walks into melee, she can basically just push E on whoever walks up to her, get protected, and all of a sudden that root doesn't really matter because she's invulnerable.
Also worth noting, we have a little bit, we can maybe talk about some 13s. Stukov went in for the Lingering Spines and not going in for the root on 13. So a little bit less crowd control than I think was expected here. But, I mean, Lingering Spines has great synergy with Growing Infestation, so I can't say that I hate the pickup.
I think I still like that more than the root on this specifically because the root is tied to pustules, if I'm remembering correctly.
You are correct. You have to have a weighted pustule out on someone in a lurking arm that you then detonate.
And that is no small feat to line all that up, coming from I only play Stukov for my healer pool.
I play a fair bit of Stukov, and I didn't take it for a long time because it's hard. And then I forced myself to do it over and over, and now I have a hard time not picking it, just because if you can land the weighted pustule, that's honestly the hardest part. And once you hit that weighted pustule, it's not hard to hit a lurking arm after that, and it provides so much incredible extra crowd control. Like, you turn a slow into almost a stun. It's bonkers how powerful that ability is.
That's true.
Technically, it's not a stun because they can still auto attack, but like,
yeah,
not being able to move and being silenced is a death sentence for so many heroes.
Like Cassia.
Yeah. Oh man, I gotta say the defining kind of matchup for at least the second game has got to be Lazy Hydra versus Kicknaz. He's just gotten so many picks out onto Jaina. It's really keeping them in this game. Like, let's go ahead and bring up the stat screen at the moment. We actually have 2 deaths onto Jaina. I'm pretty sure those are exclusively from picks from the Imperius.
I think so too.
We've got the 3-2-1 coming out, and we are back into it. Both teams probably going to back away just a little bit because the a team fight at this a pause at the start of a team fight, but that's going to give a little bit of a nice positioning to Uncomfortably Numb. They're kind of able to just step in and, ooh, you do not need a root if you have a zombie wall with a silence around it. Really well comboed by Uncomfortably Numb.
So it does look like they're going to act on that. They're stepping up to that objective. They're letting the camp push in. PRE dealing with the camp because that's really the safest play they can deal with right now, and Falstead going and getting theirs.
Yeah, it looks like he only had the 1 bribe stack, so gonna have to take the rest out the old-fashioned way. They're pushing in to try to take mid well, and they definitely succeed in that regard. Johanna's coming up now. They have about enough time to contest on this, but not by a large margin. They might want to even leave this camp up, let the other camp contest with it, and try to take a fight a little bit early. There's only 7 seconds left. I don't know if they're able to make this defense happen. Big poison over coming out.
Charge on Stukov.
A lot of damage coming out.
They are going to lose the objective.
But they're going to lose their
Maybe they can get a pick.
Not
No?
quite.
Army of the Dead and Stukov Pustules making big heal moves there.
Yeah, they were fighting down 16. They didn't actually lose out on any heroes for that, but they were not able to make a defense on the objective. And to be fair, their opponents really hadn't picked their 16s too much, so...
Yeah, I didn't see any of the 16s actually coming up during that properly. I saw them getting picked as people had already like cleared out. That can make or break a team fight sometimes.
Yeah, it definitely can. Especially with, on the PTR, your ability to even faster pick preferred talents is going to be very nice. So we got Imperius split up into the top lane. Probably not going to lose a fort there. Look, there actually pops the Mighty Gust really early to make a defense on bottom fort, but not going to be able to do anything significant there. Famous looking to try and get a root onto somebody. Not quite finding it, however. Just putting down the Lurking Arm as a form of deterrent, so that they can't step in to try and get damage in onto the cavalry. But I think this is likely going to be a successful defense coming in here. Thank you, 7th Ace, for the 9-month resub. Big poggers.
So, top fort looking in dire straits, but it is still standing.
Yeah, and they were able to keep all of their, well, keeps as well. So, we'll have to see what the call is really now from Uncomfortably Numb. They have all of the map tempo, but they did send their Nazebo back. It's likely that PRE haven't identified that fact, but yeah, giving a little bit of map
let's
tempo.
talk about the fact that Nazebo has 205 stacks right now.
Yeah, like I said, not Cursed Hollow, Tomb of the Spider Queen level of stacks coming out from Nazebo here, doing a really fantastic job. Ooh, Lazy Hydra spots this out. They're going to be able to get up in here in time to make this defense. I don't know if anyone saw Lazy Hydra coming in. Lazy Hydra just walks at the back line in a big way. He hits the Wrath onto Arthas, but no follow-up CC is able to come out from there. And just a big, messy teamfight coming out. Huge Poison Nova value coming out, and Whitemane is the first to fall here. Ring of Frost hitting out onto 2. Cassia is rooted and likely going to be the next taken out. Yes, they are.
That Stukov silence on Whitemane was crippling to them. Poison into Stukov silence. Whitemane was just unable to actually push buttons to do Whitemane things.
Yeah, she got the Divine Reckoning out, but it was only really hitting at most one person at a time, and you really kind of want to blanket the team fight, because every tick of damage is a tick of healing, so the more people you're hitting with that, the more people you're, or the more you're healing for in the end, so maybe a little bit mispositioned, but gonna be a rough spot trying to defend this boss and this objective at the same time. Uncomfortably Numb, doing the smart thing, having all of the defensive minions just attack the tank while someone else channels before clearing. So this is going to be taking it while the boss is still very healthy and pushing into the top lane. And Nazebo's soaking mid, so they're going to have level 20 by about the time that Phoenix Rising are going to be able to defeat this boss and try to go in on it. They're actually saying, forget the boss, we need to fight before 20, and they might be right in that.
Whitemane's very far behind. They are taking a lot of damage. Falstad goes down.
Huge amount of damage.
Out. Hydra misses his ultimate. The poison comes in.
And
Cassia
the
getting
root
rooted
on
now.
Cassia, she does, block some damage with the Protected, by the way, but Jimmy is not going to be able to keep them up after that. The objective does get recaptured by the neutral minions, but only very momentarily, as we have Nazebo snap picking the Vile Infection. And I don't know what it is that PRE are going to have to do to come back in this game at this point. Down 2 levels and a level 20 Nazebo and an objective. And they're already down 3 buildings as the objective is spawning. This is a rough spot.
Nazebo also has as much health as Arthas right now, so he's up there in tank land right now.
He sure does. That is the power of a lot of stacks, but as well as that level 13 giving him extra percentage health. And
plus
power.
big voodoo.
Yeah, plus big voodoo as well. So, mid-keep falls immediately. Very little pressure actually had to be put in here. The cavalry's not even here yet, and they're pushing hard in through bot lane now. And there's no way that this keep stands. If PRE are lucky and skilled. They come out of this without losing the game and maybe with a keep left, but I'm not even convinced on that. Alright, so Uncomfortably Numb are trying to end through bottom.
Nova's just looking to be in position for that poison. Here it comes.
And Whitemane wasn't able to do anything in that team fight. It's immediately blown up. And that is going to be it for game number 2. Going over in favor of Uncomfortably Numb. And we have ourselves a rubber match. I have no idea why it's called that, do you?
Perhaps because it snapped back?
I do not know. Alright, looking at the endgame summary screen, a lot more healing coming out from Stukov compared to Whitemane, which isn't particularly surprising. Stukov is really good at just pumping out big numbers, and unfortunately, there were just a lot of cases where Whitemane wasn't quite able to do Whitemane things. Either misplaced ultimates or Whitemane herself being crowd controlled found it so that everyone's favorite Thick Mama wasn't quite able to do that thing that she does so well.
Yeah, it was just a little unfortunate on some of the positions, especially that last team fight on the final objective. Jimmy took a little too long to contemplate leaving the boss in top lane, and at that point, his entire team had already committed to a team fight without him.
Yeah, and unfortunately there was a little bit of an early engagement coming out from Lazy Hydra. He got deep into the back line, but they just weren't able to secure a kill off of it. The Wrath of Angiris came out and hit Arthas instead of either Jaina or Stukov, and then the big Poison Nova came out and just wrecked.
Yeah, those Poison Novas were no joke. Zool with top damage, and I'm sure that poison was no small part of that.
Yeah. According to MC Cutie, that's an adorable name by the way, it is a pro wrestling term from back in the day. Alrighty. Now we know, and knowing, as we said earlier, is half the battle. Alright, got confirmation from Lothair that they're going to want first hero pick, so we're going to have to find out from Famous where we're going to be going for game number 3. Looking at the remaining map pool, we have Cursed Hollow, Sky Temple, Tomb of the Spider Queen, and Towers of Doom. Where would you like to see us go for game number 3?
So, I almost want to say Towers of Doom, because it looked like they were able to get those Nazebo rotations and get that Nazebo stacked, get the Zool power. It's kind of a toss-up between, say, that or maybe Spider Queen in terms of well, actually, I don't think that Uncomfortably Numb would want Spider Queen, because they showed that even on a huge map, they can play that macro game without globals.
Well, possibly to your chagrin, we do find ourselves on Tomb of the Spider Queen for map number 3.
Well.
Go ahead and update the overlay there. Tomb of the Spider Queen, chosen by left team. Swap team, swap team. Alrighty. Oh, swap team also. There we go.
Kiknaz enjoying his brief stint on the other team.
Yeah, I mean, with as flourishing of an organization as Phoenix Rising are, I don't think it's terribly difficult to find yourself on a Phoenix Rising team in the near future if that's something you're looking for.
Maybe he just wanted to be on the other end of that spear.
Can't blame anyone for that. Do you think that deserves a respect ban? Because it put in pretty good work on game number 1, if I'm not mistaken, too.
Yeah, I think they might need to respect the Imperius at this point.
It was definitely keeping him in the game, and I think that it was a very deciding factor on how they were able to win the first game. Who is that? Is that one of the players?
Ah.
I don't think so. We might have a bit of a lobby invade coming out. We're just trying to get that sorted right now. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and kick them out of the lobby. Alright, now we just gotta get the teams all right. Swap with Novus and swap with Patches. Alrighty, so I've asked you basically 3 games in a row now. What do you think the teams should be looking to do on Tomb of the Spider Queen?
So, Tomb of the Spider Queen, I almost want to compare it to, like, what if Blackheart Bay, but just one really thick lane?
Blackheart's Bay, but the map layout isn't awful. Like, I don't hate the objective on that map. I hate the distance between mid and bot lane.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I feel almost like Blackheart Bay might have had some small impact on the whole, like, double soak meta, because that's just what you had to do on Blackheart Bay. There was no way around it.
My normal team, Lurk Patrol's captain, is the only person I know who just absolutely loves that map because he gets to double soak Zool every time we play it. Unless it gets banned out. But then he just tries to double soak with somebody else.
Double soak Naz. There you go.
Naz is not a good double soaker, and I will argue that point against anyone. That's why you didn't see just Naz rotating. You have to have that additional wave clear, because yeah, he gets good value from the stacks, but he doesn't actually kill a wave very efficiently or fast.
I'll agree with you there. I think if you do take Naz into a double soak situation, you're playing on the back foot a lot, and you're not really looking for those quick clears. You're just looking to get stacks as much as possible and prevent as much damage as possible, because you're looking at that later game.
Right, for sure. And that's the thing with Naz, you have to not lose early game. Like, sure, even if you get to level 20 with stacks, it doesn't matter if you don't have any keeps left. And really well done on the side of Uncomfortably Numb for managing to play Nazebo and not get behind at all, really. Like, they lost that first objective, I think, but it didn't matter.
Yeah, that was... I think they just really played to their strengths there, where Zool and Nazebo pushed those side lanes super hard, because Nazebo can clear, if there's no one there, very quickly and safely. But that first objective was mostly nullified by the fact that 2 of the 3 waves were at the gates, so to speak.
Yeah. And honestly, the first objective on most maps these days doesn't get a fort unless you win by a very significant margin. On something like if you get a full shield immortal on BOE, that probably gets a fort, but shy of that, you're not getting forts with first objectives on most maps these days.
Yeah.
So just getting, front wall damage, it's very recoverable. In fact, Tomb of the Spider Queen, I feel like, has a particularly weak objective in the current meta.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like it's got drastically different results at different levels of play. Because like, I have friends who are just starting off in the game. They're in bronze and silver, and they like to stand in spider waves, and the enemies stand in spider waves and just get chunked. And that objective is way more powerful than it is at higher levels of play where people dodge things.
Yeah, I remember when the core changes came out, people were saying that the Tomb of the Spider Queen one is incredibly weak because it's very dodgeable. And it doesn't even force you to move much or often compared to something like the Hanamura one where it fires down the missiles constantly.
Was it Dragonshire that has the rocks that knock back?
No,
was that
that's Blackheart's Bay. Dragonshire has the one that stuns you for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so punishing if you get hit by one of those compared to some of the other ones. You've got a bit of a healer choke coming
comes
out now. I always love to see either a tank chunk or a support chunk, just because it makes interesting picks happen.
Yes, there's definitely plenty of assassins to go around, but being able to build around assassins when you have a limited tank and healer pool, that's what makes the kind of meta shift ups very, very interesting in this game.
Yeah, and these days, Deckard and Rhaegar are almost universally powerful right now. You don't have to have a fantastic Bloodlust comp to get fantastic Bloodlust value, and Deckard King being able to chunk out a ruby on every W is just ridiculous value. And actually respecting the Cassia over the Imperius. Alright, so what do PRE take with their first pick? They get the Tassadar that they've been denied this whole series. That was a fast pickup too. Ace was ready.
Yep.
And you know what? I love Tassadar on this map. It's so important to have good wave clear, and Tassadar is just lightning in a bottle for wave clear. However, Zool is just about as good, and Johanna is the best wave clear tank. So I'm loving the way both these teams are starting this draft.
Tassadar also has the fun wall, which is perfectly sized for most of the choke points in this map.
And he's also one of the few mages that has really good follow-up crowd control, you can call it. The wall can function basically as CC. It's not great at snagging someone just out of lane, but in a match versus, I think it was Ghillie Sharks, they were running Taunt Variant and doing follow-up with task walls, and it was just phenomenal. It killed our tank Uther, I think 7 times that game. Alright, continuing the tank chokeout with the Garrosh, which I find really interesting because Garrosh is not a particularly highly played tank by PRE. Johanna and ETC are pretty up there, but actually Blaze is tied with Johanna for their most played tank, so I'm not a little surprised not to see that getting banned out. But Garrosh is a scary hero.
Respecting the Nazebo, though.
This is a way better map for Nazebo, I feel. This map doesn't end early like it used to, and it's so easy to get stacks. Nazebo would be like 280 stacks at level 20 on this map.
Yep, they've seen what Mr. Monkey Man can do on a bad map for Nazebo, and they don't want anything to do with a map that's good for Nazebo, clearly.
So Ana is generally good, and I don't think that anything PRE has punishes Ana quite yet. And I think they're going to have a hard time punishing Ana, to be completely honest, because Jimmy can't get up to her very great. Tassadar can hit her kind of, and Stukov can't really step up that close to Ana either. So I don't know that I think that their method for dealing with Ana You know, I was going to say was just dealing with the front line, but Tyrael says maybe otherwise.
That is a very interesting pair of picks.
Leo, I totally understand.
Mm-hmm.
Tyrael is a spicy pick.
Yeah.
They've
right
done it
now,
once before, and they lost with it.
So right now with the tank meta, it's all about that CC game.
I mean, Judgment is good CC.
It
Tassadar,
is.
if he's already forward, can maybe follow up. Stukov can definitely put a silence, which is very nice. And Leo can do the entomb thing, but I don't know. I'm not convinced on that Tyrael pick yet.
Yeah, they still don't have a good way to get to Ana without just dive bombing past the entire enemy team with Tyrael and hoping that they don't just turn around and rip your backline in response.
I think what they have to do is ignore Johanna entirely, try to kill Zool. Or Lunara.
I think that's probably for the best. If Leoric gets a life drain on Johanna, great. But other than that, just pass on by.
Yeah. And there's genuinely a scarier front line and I think more damage coming out from PRE. So, we got Locusts in the top lane for some reason. Anywho, spawning on the left-hand side in the blue trunks for game number 3. For the last time, they are uncomfortably numb with Novus playing the Zool, famous on Johanna, Kiknaz playing Lunara, Mr. Monkey Man on the Ana, and Patches playing Kel'Thas.
And over for PRE, we've got Lazy Hydra on the Leoric this time, Lothair on Raynor, Jimmy on Stukov, Rain on Tyrael, and Ace on Tassadar. I'm a little disappointed that Jimmy isn't playing Raynor.
Yeah, but such is the life of a healer main. Speaking of healer main, we actually have a role swap up with Mr. Monkey Man no longer playing the Nazebo and going into kind of the full opposite with the Ana.
About as far away from macro play as you can get.
So we do have a banned skin on Kel'Thas. But teams agreeing that they don't want to actually have to remake it, and that's totally their prerogative, so we're just going to continue. We do have the Executioner coming out from Raynor on level 1, which is not a huge surprise. That talent is really good, even in team comps where you already have enough wave clear. It still helps a lot with the Immortals, or the spiders. Ooh, bit of a rotation down onto Lazy Hydra, but he's able to just kind of walk casually out of there, which maybe gives a little bit of opportunity for PRE to push in top lane and maybe get some damage done there.
Novus playing back, which is good.
Yeah.
So when your whole team's not there and the other team's not showing, they're probably coming to gank you.
Famous words to live by. We do have the Weighted Pustule quest on level 1 from Jimmy, which I personally don't like very much. I really find low blow to be generally more useful, but being able to just chunk out more W's is never really a bad thing. We do have a big engage coming out onto Novus, who gets brought down very low and is able to walk away with sub 300 hit points. Probably Rain just missing up out on the follow-up there. But that's going to be a very early tap coming up from Zool. Actually, a full back coming up from Zool.
Yeah. But if you're gonna go back, now is not a terrible time. Unfortunately, they are gonna miss a little bit of soak in that mid lane.
Yeah, Famous taking a little bit of damage there. Not a terrible amount though.
Ooh, York gets caught by the KT and it's gonna go down.
That is pretty unfortunate. He had a fair number of gems, but looks like Lothair is gonna be able to step up and take up most of those. We do have the Q quest coming out from Ace, and that is a lot of extra damage, but the one thing to watch out for, if you're not consistently getting up to your 100 level on your auto attack, you're going to start losing out on mana. And we see him already below half there. I would not be surprised if he ends up just tapping for mana at some point in the relatively near future. Got the turn-in completed by Tyrael, gets their gems in. Both teams just a little bit away from their turn-in. Novus getting in 15 is pretty big for them. And I'm really interested in this lane arrangement where they're keeping 3 people in bot lane most of the time. It does allow them to take this camp, but it makes them have a little less pressure in the other lanes. We did have the Bruiser camp getting picked up for the side of Phoenix Rising, as Uncomfortably Numb just finished picking up enough gems for a turn-in. They still need to get in 11 more to actually complete that turn-in, which I believe is on everyone in their team.
Both teams have enough gems, so at this point, could go either way.
Yeah. We do have Kilthas going over to start this Bruiser camp. He's going to get some help from Mr. Monkey Man. That might give the opportunity for Phoenix Rising to get their gems turned in. However, Famous is doing a really good job of preventing them from stepping in. And Ace isn't able to find his gems in, and those 14 are very necessary to complete that turn-in. A lot of damage coming out into Novus, but he is able to walk away. The Force Wall, again, not the world's greatest crowd control, especially as an initiation and not as follow-up, so just able to get a little bit of damage, but nothing life-threatening for Zool there.
He did take the electric fence on it though, so that does add up.
Yeah, it makes it a little bit scarier for sure. Novus is able to get their 10 in, and nice Sleep Dart is going to make it so. Oh, Novus did actually get interrupted there, just barely. Rain stepping in is going to get rooted. I don't know if he's going to be able to have an out, and he is, oh my gosh, going to survive it. Sub 50 hit points. Really well done by him to be able to step out of there. Lazy Hydra is trying to get his turned in, but it's going to be really difficult against the Lunara. And Novus does complete that turn in. First Web Weaver is going over to Uncomfortably Numb. They need Bruiser camp in the mid lane does get cleaned up before the Web Weavers drop down, which is pretty big for them. Because the tower changes are not on live, that was a little bit of damage coming out into Famous, but they had already popped the Laws of Hope, so nothing permanent going to stick there. We've got the full Q build coming out from Tassadar, so not going to be able to get any of those lightnings after Q cast, but we'll be able to cast Q quite a bit more often, and that's a lot of damage if you can land them pretty consistently, especially at 16 when you get Thermal Lance.
I think that given how large of a front line that they have on PRE, I think I actually like that for the Lance build. Because it might not be super incredible against Johanna, but if they're going to just say, hey, ignore the Joe, just push on through, which I think they need to do, that does allow them to just kind of throw one out there, walk past, throw another one out there, walk past.
That's true. Personally, I'm never really a fan of Q build on Tassadar, just because you root yourself more often because of your talent choices. It does allow you to do a lot more damage, but self-rooting more often just has a real bad feel in my opinion. Lothair actually really far forward is going to get stepped upon, engaged. Johanna not even having to use shield there to get that kill out into Lothair, and that is a fair number of gems dropped. Going to find a second kill out onto Stukov right as the level 10s were coming in, but really nice timing by Uncomfortably Numb to just get that before their opponents have their own power spike, and that's going to allow them to step up and take a boss. Red Web Weavers are going to come down, but at this phase in the game, I think boss is more powerful.
I think so as well. Hydra just going ahead and saying, hey, you know what? I'm just going to clear this wave.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to allow the Red Web Weavers to spawn even further into the bottom lane, and maybe actually threaten that bottom fort if no one rotates there quickly enough. Web Weavers are coming down now. We haven't actually mentioned the heroics yet. It is the Sanctification, so not going to try to make a crazy Judgment engage. Otherwise, pretty standard coming out from the side of Kiri, and on the other side we do have the Leaping Strike and Poison Nova, and yeah, just 10 standard ult pickups, I feel like.
Yeah, those seem pretty normal.
Oh, just missing out on the Entomb, unfortunately. Novus is able to walk away because of it. If you're Lazy Hydra, you gotta feel a little bit bad about that.
Yeah, though Entomb does have a short enough cooldown that when you do miss it, It's not the end of the world,
That's true.
but
Getting that kill would have dropped 15-ish gems and also would have gotten a very easy second turn in for PRE. Both teams do have a second turn in available, neither finding critical damage, although getting that bot fort is a pretty decent advantage in favor of Uncomfortably Numb, but again, not an insurmountable one by any means. Famous looking to get those 30 gems turned in, and Rain is not going to be able to get the interrupt. Steps in very far, and a lot of damage comes in, but the disengage is there from Jimmy. However, the re-engage with the Blessed Shield is pretty good. Rain is able to get out and tap. I think that keeps him alive, but he had to leave his Stukov high and dry to get there. Ace pops the Archon. It's going to keep him alive for like 4 seconds or so. Gets blown up, and Rain is very low as well. Cannot drop those 43 gems. That is a huge comeback factor for them. Rain,
oh, the poison on Rain.
do you have your shield available? Look, there dies. Rain survives. Really well team fought by Uncomfortably Numb, but those 43 gems are keeping Perry in this game. If they drop those, it'd be an incredibly bad spot for them. It's bad enough as it is, but you know, at least they still got a fighting chance here. Rain stepping up to try and make an engage happen. He just gets counter-rooted, has no disengage, and slept upon, and just as quickly as he walked in there, he had to walk away. And now their top keep is under threat. Lazy Hydra hasn't been able to rotate here yet, so it's an even fight, or even an advantageous one for Uncomfortably Numb. That keep definitely going down. Lazy Hydra gonna come in for an entomb almost certainly. Finds it onto Kicknaz, and not onto Johanna. Unfortunately, Tassadar trying to step up to get the follow-up wall CC and is going to get killed for it himself. And it is starting to look dire for Phoenix Rising at this point.
Yeah,
there are
and they've
ways
still
that
got
they
the
can come back.
Pushing their well down in bot lane.
Definitely an uphill climb for them, but one that they can do if they're able to rally behind a nice, maybe level 13 team fight, or fighting someone out and getting a pick, or something. They're gonna need to make something happen, but there are things that they can do.
Shatter their constructs. Deliver the gems to my
If Rain drops those 50 gems, though, I don't know if they're gonna be able to come back.
Famous, pretty far forward. I think they're just trying to scout, trying to delay and disrupt. But I'd be very careful if I were Famous right now, because you've got a secure lead. There's no need to risk it by having your tank all by themselves 2 screens away.
Yeah, they are about 18 gems shy of tournament at this point, so really they're just playing total defense right now. Spending a full round action so they can get a +4 circumstance bonus to their armor class. And really just trying to hold out until they get that 16 talent tier. I think it's actually a dodge bonus, but whatever.
Yeah.
We do have the 16s now coming in for the side of Uncomfortably Numb. There is this Bruiser camp pushing in, and with that camp being picked up by Zool, that maybe tells PRE that they can try to take an advantageous team fight, but they had to have identified it a little bit quicker. Lazy Hydra's not able to get those gems in, is able to spooky walk away. He does have the increased duration and damage cut on it, so it doesn't hurt too much to
Rain is
use that
sitting
ability,
there
but
with 53 gems.
yeah, he's had solo turning for quite a while at this point, but is he ever going to be able to actually turn the gems in? Is the big question. Lothair is showing on map, and Uncomfortably Numb are just kind of sharking around trying to find something. Rain walks in, doesn't get hit with any crowd control. They do hit out onto the huge combo, getting out onto Lunara, and that's going to be the first to fall. Jimmy's pretty low. Ace steps in with the Archon to try and get some follow-on damage and crowd control. Archon attacks do slow, so once that Unstoppable falls on Johanna, they can't get away super easily. Patches is low, Mr. Monkey Man is low, just barely missing out onto the force wall. But that might have secured enough room for Rain to get that turn in. Famous is going to try and interrupt him. But with the rest of his team there, they should be able to put enough damage even into a Johanna to make that a bad idea.
They do have... Oh, there it is.
Yeah. And they're going to need to clear out on top lane, not because it's going to threaten their core, but because there's a fair amount of XP there. Bot lane as well. So it's great that they got this turn in. I don't think they can do a lot with it other than restore even map pressure. They did pick up their own 16s. Oh, getting a big combo into Famous. But I don't think they want to fight here. They are down some of their really important heroics. Lazy Hydra looking for an Entomb engage. Hits a wall, but not an Entomb on Famous. Was able to walk away with a lot of damage coming out from that Flame Strike with the Ignite. Rain passes on to Lothair and Ace. Living Bomb is just the gift that keeps on giving. Famous looking to find Ace. Doesn't find him, but Webweavers are doing very little right now. They're going to pick up some XP in the bottom lane, but really that just bought them a little bit of map positioning, and Lazy Hydra is going to have to spooky walk on out of here. Going to take a lot of damage for it, and might even get hit with some Johanna CC afterwards. Nope, is able to get out of there nicely.
Rain needs to play safely because come another 2 minutes, he's going to have full solo turn-in again.
Yeah.
If he lives.
He still has the Sanctification. Probably not going to drop it here, but you've taken some damage that he didn't need to take there.
Yeah.
Looking at the health bars, they are slightly in favor of Uncomfortably Numb at this point, but it's at the point in the game where I think Puri might want to try and take an even fight. Obviously, they prefer to take an advantageous team fight. Ooh, looking for an Entomb out onto
Joe showing top.
there? No. They're looking to find an advantageous team fight with Joe showing top, and I think they want to just rip Entomb right there. Hit patches. Oh, there he goes. Gets out onto Kicknaz. It's not the target they were looking for. Lazy Hydra taking a lot of damage. The Sanctification comes out and saves Leo. But, oh, that poison, though. And those bombs, though. Oh, boy.
Those were some spicy living bombs.
Kobe, look away. I know you're not going to hear that before you actually see it, but oh, that's rough. Lothair's just trying to stall out their death away from the rest of the team. Rain still has solo turn-in, has all 60 gems necessary. However, do they even live through this core push? I'm not convinced.
I don't think they do.
Lazy Hydra's back, they've got the Entomb, they've got the damage cut, and more importantly than anything, Uncomfortably Numb don't believe. But with Isaac, oh, that Sleep Dart, that ends the game.
Yep.
That Sleep Dart should end the game right there. But, once again, Uncomfortably Numb, they don't believe. They don't believe in the core push. There's a Tassadar and a Stukov. They're up level 20, and they've got a turn-in, so they can just do that, they can do boss, but I don't like any play that doesn't immediately end the game when you could just immediately end the game. Because that gives your opponents time, and time is not on your side. I mean, it kind of is because they're still at level 20, but they hit their last big power spike.
They're up 3 levels, but that only lasts for so long.
Although Stukov is going to drop 46 gems and no one's going to be able to pick him up, probably. Lazy Hydra maybe actually gets them. He picks up all of the gems. This is still technically a doable spot for Phoenix Rising. Putting a lot of damage into Nova's, getting a huge Entomb. Sanctification is saving a lot of damage. Tassadar is starting to put in a lot of damage. Lazy Hydra is likely going to fall, though. Bombs are falling. Lothair is going to fall as well after that. I think that's finally enough deaths that this is going to be game in favor of Uncomfortably Numb. It was a nail-biter, but Uncomfortably Numb are going to take the 2-1 victory here. GG's and well-played's coming out.
These were very good games.
That was a fun series.
That it was. We definitely saw a lot of turnarounds just all over the place.
Every one of those team fights, like almost all of them went in favor of Uncomfortably Numb. But looking at it, you could see how it could also go in favor of Puri. So every time a team fight broke out, you're like, oh man, who's going to win this one? If you're a Phoenix Rising fan, unfortunately went in favor of Uncomfortably Numb most of the time, but you really can't knock either of those two teams. Both of them, I feel like, played really well this series.
Oh boy, that stat screen.
Yeah, Raynor
Kael'thas
not
does a lot of
quite putting out
damage.
the damage that Kael'thas did. Neither did Tassadar. Yeah, especially after 16, the Ignite value was just insane. Alrighty. So we're going to see if we can't get an interview with someone from Uncomfortably Numb, and we are going to get Novus. Alrighty. Let's see if they're already in the server somewhere. They are, so we're just going to drag them on up here. Congratulations, Novus, on your 2-1 victory.
Hello, hello. Thank you very much. It was a really fun time playing.
It was really fun time watching.
I'm glad. We didn't necessarily have our most interesting games that round, but
yeah,
at least it was entertaining.
There was no Juice Pirates, there was no Abathur Murky, but you know what? Just winning when you're kind of on that bubble of do we actually clinch a playoff spot, I can't really fault you for that.
Yeah. Well, I think we got some really strong drafts, surprisingly. They didn't ban a lot of our better characters for some reason, but they were targeting Deckard on the patches, which is good because we have some stuff that works off that, but yeah.
Yeah, and it felt like in a lot of cases they were banning more meta heroes than some of your more comfortable heroes. Like Arthas, I don't think was ever banned, and he's your most played hero as a team.
He might have been banned game 3, but yeah, we got him through game 2, which was quite good because Famous was having some internet issues, and Arthas is one of those heroes that even when you're disconnected can still contribute to a fight. So
I mean, yeah, as long
that
as
was pretty lucky for us.
As long as the bot presses E, he's doing something right.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that was a bit of a rough game for us for sure.
Yeah. So, are you your team's drafting person or just designated speaking head?
So Famous is the head for sure. I am like the disobedient parasite that's attached to the side of it and tends to draw things in the wrong way. But yeah.
Interesting that he sent you to speak on his behalf, if that's the case then.
Let's just say I'm the one who's responsible for the Abba Murky drafts and Juice Pirates and that sort of thing, so yeah.
So you're the crowd favorite then?
I hope so. That'd be fun.
Alright, so looking at game number 1, your team opted for first hero pick, and I cannot remember who you actually ended up first picking in game number 1. Do you recall? Was it the ETC?
I think we went with ETC first pick, yes.
Okay.
And that's mostly just because he's one of the stronger tanks that we're comfortable on. It's not necessarily a role that we have limited hero pool for, but the ETC was the strongest of what we were planning on picking that game.
ETC, I noticed, is a really interesting hero for your team. You've had 3 people play ETC in 6 games.
Yeah, and it might even be higher, because we have at least 4 ETC players. So
that's. I found actually researching your team really wild because, like, y'all went from having a Nazebo player into an Ana player in a span of 1 game. Like,
yeah,
very few teams are pulling that kind of a thing off these days, and it was really actually pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, so that really helps us out because it's very difficult to ban out one of our roles, because if you ban one of our players' better heroes, then we can just put them on something else. So yeah, we swap up a lot based on what we're playing and what we think is good.
Very cool. So obviously you ended up losing game number 1. What would you attribute that to, do you think?
So there were a couple things that happened to game number 1. One, they had a very strong bursty team fight comp, which didn't get to us too hard in the early game because we had all our forts up. So whenever we saw that Bloodlust and Imperious Shield go up, we kind of just went back to wall. But later game, as some of the structures started to fall, we were having more trouble with it. And also I realized a bit later that I was muted for the last 5 minutes of that game, so
Oof.
that made it a bit more difficult as well.
That's always a struggle.
Yeah, I'm surprised nobody pointed it out because I'm normally one of the most talkative ones. But yeah,
I mean, it can be hard. You never want to be the one to ask, "Are you muted?" Because if you're wrong, you just feel like a jerk, even though you're really not. It just feels
no. I'm just
bad.
very upset. Anyway,
All right, so
yes.
Going into map number 2, you opted for first hero pick again, and they took you to Alterac Pass. How do your team feel about that map?
So, I wouldn't say we're great on it. I wouldn't say we're bad on it either, because Alterac Pass isn't the most unique map. It plays out a little bit like Spider Queen, but the objective is a lot more delayed. So it's not something we're uncomfortable on. But yeah.
Okay. So I guess that explains the Nazebo pickup then.
No, that doesn't
Yeah.
explain the Nazebo pickup.
Mr.
Oh,
Monkey
really?
certainly played like it was Tomb of the Spider Queen there.
No,
He was
the-
stacking.
The Nazebo pickup was we had 2 people hovering Jaina with 1 second left in the draft. So
So
one of them
Heroes of the
switched to
Storm
Nazebo.
is like eeny, meeny, miny, you two.
It was a game of Mage Chicken, and Nazebo obviously won because he got to play the much more fun hero that game.
I agree. Nazebo is super fun.
But
A little harder
yeah,
to make work than Jaina, though.
it worked out really well with us because our strategy going into it with the first pick Zool was to basically just stall it out and get the Zool value anyway. So it essentially just turned into from a split push Zool comp to a split push Zool Nazebo. And I think he had 150 stacks by the end of the first objective or something ridiculous. So.
He had
I remember-
150 at level 12, or rather at 12 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So he was on track to have something like 215 stacks ish when you hit level 20.
Yeah,
It was
as soon
well
as he
over
hit
200 at that point.
As soon as he hit those larger stacks, we basically just said, all right, you can hang out with the team now while Zool does his thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Nazebo gets a lot of benefit from being in lanes, but he's not actually that great at pushing.
No. So that's why the combo worked out pretty well.
Alrighty. And yeah, I think other than that, it was a lot of either comfort picks or relatively standard pickups coming out from the rest of your team.
Yeah, we got, what was it, Arthas, Stukov, and Jaina. Those
Yep.
are fairly comfortable picks for us.
Yep, exactly those ones.
So they were able to hold their own fairly well while Nazebo and I just pushed the lanes out.
And then going into map number 3, you had previously banned out Tassadar in both games. So you left him up this time. What was the decision there?
So we actually didn't think that they were going to let Tassadar through.
You banned Chicken.
Yeah, we were playing Ban Chicken because we have a 100% win rate on Tassadar. So didn't think that they'd risk it, but they first picked it instead, which was okay with us because Johanna and Zool, as you saw from game 2 and 3, are both very strong heroes. So.
Especially on a much smaller map like this one.
Yeah.
Tomb of the Spider Queen. I mean, they say that the spiders are clean, but really it's wave clear, and Johanna's the best of that for the tanks, and Zool's the best of that for the bruisers.
Yep.
And Kel'Thas
So-
pretty high up there too.
Yeah, so it ended up playing out a bit like game 1 where we just had the 3 people on relatively comfort picks just doing their own thing while Johanna and Zool made sure to get as much damage in as they could. in the early game, at least.
Yeah, for sure. And one final question about specific picks and bans. did you not feel like the Imperius was threatening enough to ban Game 3? Because he kind of put in the work in the first 2 games.
Imperius Game 1, I felt was quite strong. I'm not sure if that was more because of our team comp or because of the map. But Game 2, he didn't have as much of an impact as far as we were concerned. And on Tomb of the Spider Queen, while Imperius is good, he really has no wave clear. So you can kind of just bully him away from any turn-in points, out of lane, all of that, if you pick a strong counter laner.
Alrighty.
So it wasn't really worth the ban in Game 3. And Game 2, I think we had other priorities.
Alright, I think that's it for specific questions about the games in this series. Jacqueline, do you have anything about the series for them?
No, my burning question was basically exactly what got answered there about the Imperius, because I think that's a pretty good line of logic.
Yeah.
We were very, very surprised to see Imperius still left unbanned after how quickly the ban came out on Rhaegar on Game 2.
Yeah. Well, we have a bit of an advantage in the banning phase in that every single hero is played by at least one person on our team. So we have a pretty good understanding of their strengths and weaknesses. So, yeah. We didn't feel threatened by it enough.
So then that forces me to ask then, who is your TLV player?
That would be me.
Excellent. I like you significantly more now, and I already liked you coming in here.
Yeah, you might not like this, though. I don't think TLV are meta enough for a 5v5 game.
No, that's fine.
They're all right in Storm League. Don't like them in 5v5.
No, I totally don't think that they're very good right now, and I think all the changes that they made them objectively worse.
Oh, yes.
But that doesn't make me like the hero any less.
Yeah.
Just like I love Nazebo.
TLV
I don't
build,
play him ever, because I don't think he's not that good, but you know what? I love him anyway.
Yeah. All the talents they buffed weren't really that important, and the ult that they nerfed was incredibly important.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Also, they nerfed Viking bribery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
All right, so looking ahead...
I actually have one
go ahead.
follow-up. So with the upcoming PTR and patch changes with the whole weather dynamic thing, have you considered the wombo combo of Lost Vikings, Rexxar, Nova, Rhaegar,
Samuro?
and Samuro in order to get as many bodies on map as possible and get 14 lightning shields into a death ball?
I can tell you that if anybody will request that draft on our team, it's going to be me. I don't know if we have enough players of those characters, but we'll see.
All right, looking ahead, this was a very good win for you all for your potential playoff run, but you still have a couple of potentially tricky matches, in particular with the Tricky Gooses, currently number 4 in your divisions, realistically number 3. How are you going to prepare for that powerhouse team?
Well, I suspect we're going to be playing a lot of Call of Duty, some Hearthstone Battlegrounds, maybe a couple games of StarCraft here and there. We'll see.
You're working on your reflexes, your intellectual capabilities, and your actions per minute. That's a really diverse training regimen. I'm pretty impressed, not going to lie. Yeah, and who knows, maybe 1 or 2 games of Heroes, but I wouldn't count on it. That's fair.
Playing the psychological warfare.
I think that's all I've got for this interview. Jacqueline, do you have anything?
No, that's... Congratulations on your games well played.
All right, thank you very much. It was great talking to you guys.
Before you head out of here, you got the floor for any shout-outs that you want to give to anyone.
Oh yeah, so I'd like to shout out Click Esports. It's a internet cafe in Ottawa that we can't currently play at, but it's usually the only reason that we're able to play because of internet issues that are quite an issue with our team.
We
So
saw a bit of that, yeah.
it's an esports cafe in Ottawa, and if anybody's ever in the region, check it out.
Are you a Canadian-based team then?
Yes.
Very cool. Alrighty. So thank you for joining us, Novus, and good luck with the rest of your series going forward.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. That is just about going to do it for us tonight. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you, Jacqueline Hyde, for being here. It was really nice having you as a first-time co-caster with me.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
It was.
Do you do any solo casting or streaming? Where can people find you on the internet if you want to be found?
So they can find me at Jacqueline_Hyde on Twitch. I basically have just recently moved, so I wasn't streaming yet. I might start streaming by the end of the week, hopefully. And that's
what are you going to be streaming?
Primarily Heroes of the Storm, and then some oddball games, maybe some Monster Train or Slay the Spire.
Ooh, Slay the Spire is good.
That it is.
Alrighty. So I'm going to try and find us somebody to raid. Hopefully another NGS cast that's going on right now. And we have a couple.
Jinxie.
Ooh, let's just find out. Just got to make sure that that series isn't like about to end or anything. It says soon. So probably, if I had to guess, starting up in the next 7 minutes or so, because we schedule on the 15th. So yeah, we're going to get the raid started for Jinxie Cat. Thank you, everyone, for coming by. Thank you, Ace, for the 9-month resub. You are a baller. And that's just about going to do it for us. We're going to hit the start raid button, and in 20 seconds, we're going to start the raid.
Thank you, everyone, for coming and watching and cheering on your favorite teams.
All right, and have a good night. And say hi to Jinxie Cat for us. Bye-bye.